A massive, decade-long study out this week confirmed, once again, what scientists have known for years. There is no link between vaccines and autism. In the 1950s, measles infected some 3 million Americans a year. A vaccine changed all that in 1963. And by 2000, officials declared the disease eliminated from the US. But it's made an unexpected comeback due to anti-vaccine sentiment.
I know, baby. You're going to be mad at me a little bit, okay? I'm sorry, baby girl.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. I know.
Almost done. Okay. Last one. Hold still. She's strong.
The percentage of my patients who aren't completely vaccinated is probably close to 25%.
That's pretty high.
It's pretty high.
Dr. Luke Voitas is highly attuned to the vaccine culture war. Today, he's vaccinating 2 of his patients. His practice is in Vancouver, Washington, the epicenter of an ongoing measles outbreak. Since the beginning of the year, there have been 70 confirmed cases here. How bad is measles?
Yeah, measles is a bad illness. If you are exposed to someone with the measles, you're not vaccinated, you have a 90% chance of getting it. Most people don't die from it, but about 2 out of 1,000 do, which is scary when that's your kid who's sick.
When a parent comes in and says, no vaccines, I don't want to do any of them, how do you approach that?
When I started 10 years ago, I got pretty fired up by that. I mean, I was fresh out of residency, and I would come at them with all the science, all the studies of how safe it was, how bad those diseases could be. I mean, I'd get into 20, 30-minute conversations about that.
And how would that go?
They'd listen politely, they'd nod their head, and they'd refuse all the vaccines. People know I'm not going to kick them out, so maybe I attract a few more of those patients than other doctors.
But you see that as an opportunity?
Absolutely. I want to work with those families. Good talking, Hudson. What we'll have to decide on today is what we want to do with flu vaccine.
If I had my flu shot and he's breastfeeding, does that help him at all? Or just...
Yeah, so not really. Breastfeeding helps with everything. That makes him less likely to get sick in general, but specifically for the flu, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, let's go ahead and just get it to be safe.
Have you actually had success in changing parents' minds?
Yes.
Cerise Wilson is one of those parents who changed her mind. I have had an opportunity to meet one of your patients, Cerise, and she has gone through a journey. Can you tell me how that actually happened?
Like most parents, she was nervous about some things, but really nervous about vaccines. Just in her social group, she had gotten a lot of information in both directions, and we just talked about it a little bit. We said, I'm never going to force you to do anything. We're going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about it in 2 months and 4 months. Mm-hmm. I gradually saw Cerise and her husband become more comfortable with vaccines over those first few months.
You know, it wasn't autism. That was never the fear in that. I was more concerned about, you hear about brain swelling, and really scary things.
When did you first hear about the measles outbreak?
My sister had called me to tell me that there were a few confirmed cases in the area.
And what was your reaction?
Oh shit.
All right, well.
Cerise reconsidered her stance shortly before the outbreak. Her mother was diagnosed with cancer in October of last year. So she decided to vaccinate her baby, 15-month-old Everett, to prevent him from making her mother sick.
I had to weigh the decision. How would I feel if he got something that there's a vaccine for and I didn't do it?
Is Everett currently on track right now with his vaccines?
By 18 months, he'll be caught up.
You said you've done the research. You had also been doing a lot of research beforehand. So it kind of sounds like your opinion of the sources that you trust has also changed.
Well, when there's emotions involved, it's hard for concrete facts to actually influence you because anxiety is a real thing.
How divisive is this issue in your community?
I have just been horrified at how vindictive it's been. People that I have always appreciated, seeing them on social media calling people that don't vaccinate baby killers.
Some of those messages are directed at Cerise's mother, Lynda Wilson. She's a state senator representing parts of Clark County.
Because my mom hasn't discussed The legislation, just recently, people have gone online and called her a coward and a stupid bitch.
Senator Wilson plans to vote no on a proposed bill that would eliminate one of Washington's non-medical vaccine exemptions, the philosophical exemption.
Where do you stand on vaccines?
Well, obviously, I can be pro-vaccine because I did vaccinate my kids. I do believe that we need to do those, but I don't believe that everyone should be having to do them.
When the outbreak erupted in Clark County, the number of measles vaccinations administered to children spiked to 5 times the average.
The government didn't make them do that. They went
No,
out
the
because-
measles outbreak did.
Right. They decided to make that decision on their own to go get the measles vaccine. So
But it took an outbreak for that to happen. Is that how things should go?
the cases are coming from out of the country. So, maybe what we should do is start thinking about requiring vaccinations if you're coming into our country. Maybe they should be vaccinated instead of requiring all of our people to be vaccinated regardless.
Why does it make more sense to ask people who are coming into the country to get vaccinated as opposed to people inside the country?
Well, they're being responsible here inside the country, right? We're a very well vaccinated country.
Sorry, I find that a very interesting way of looking at things because clearly Clark County is actually not well vaccinated. If the bar for responsibility is to vaccinate children, then saying that we should force people outside of the country to do it as opposed to people inside of the country, it sort of seems contradictory.
If that's where the disease is coming from, that's where I'm thinking that we should be looking at.
What is your responsibility as a politician?
My responsibility is to listen to my constituents and to hear both sides of an issue. I mean, there's been so few deaths along the way in years and years.
Because vaccines work.
No, I'm talking about measles, people that got the measles. There's very, very few deaths, but there have been more reactions to the measles vaccine and causing illness in whatever case it is.
You believe that? You believe that the measles vaccine has caused greater
Well,
pain
if I listen to my
and
constituents,
harm than the measles itself?
I think that in this case, yes.
Have you talked to any doctors, scientists about
No.
this? No.
I'm kind of busy up here, and so I'm just dealing with what I'm getting from my constituents.